Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this online information session regarding the MSc in Nanotechnology for Medicine and Healthcare, as well as information on the PGCert in Nanotechnology. So this is a session designed to give potential applicants all the crucial information they might need in preparing to make a decision about applying to this course or these courses. So I'm going to begin today by firstly introducing myself, and I am Professor Robert Carlyle. I work in the Institute of Biomedical Engineering, and I've worked here for about probably more now, probably about 10 years. And within my research group, we develop methods for enhancing the delivery and distribution of therapeutics and vaccines. So typically for cancer and the treatment of infectious disease. I've been the director of the MSc in Nanotechnology for Medicine and Healthcare since its inception in 2016. And the course grew out of a PGCert in Nanotechnology, of which Dr. Christiane Nuremberg, who is also on the call today, is the director, and she is also the co-director of the MSc. And as we go through, we'll discuss how the MSc and PGCert courses interact and overlap, and how the journey of the student through the MSc includes time in the PGCert. So that's who I am. I'm the director. I've been working in the field for since my PhD in gene therapy in 2000, which finished in 2000. Done a lot of work on drug delivery, nanoformulation, nanostructures, both synthetic nanostructures and biological ones. And I play a part in delivering and organising the course along with Christiane. In terms of the overview of the MSc, our intention is to deliver this course, which is designed to enhance the ability of people who are interested in the field of nanotechnology and working in the field of nanotechnology to take those innovations that they're developing and make sure that they can go all the way from concept to clinical use and make an impact. So it's about how we take the fundamentals and the understandings of the nanoscale and how we apply those concepts and understandings in the healthcare context, and how we actually make sure those brilliant ideas and technologies actually make it right through to clinical use and make an impact on the market. So it's about that journey. It's about that journey of taking an idea, concept, and making sure it ends up being translated into something useful. And all those steps along the way are considered during the course. So the first 3 modules are delivered online, and these 3 modules comprise the PGCert. So this is a nice mixed model form of delivery. It enables students who are working and busy, as many of our students are, to study whilst working. So they don't need to arrange for time away from their work. They don't need to stop working. They can still keep working and earning and contributing to their field, but learn and develop their knowledge and skills at the same time. So those first 3 modules comprise the PGCert, and Christiane, who directs the PGCert, will talk in a bit more detail about those modules. Now we take those first 3 modules and we add to them a second set of 3 modules. Now these are delivered face-to-face in Oxford. And the intention there is obviously to give students the opportunity to come to Oxford and experience all the benefits of actually having a face-to-face delivery. So students come to Oxford, have good interaction with their own cohort. So there's lots of peer-to-peer interaction and learning, as well, of course, there's lots of interaction with the lecturers and researchers academics and industrialists that come in to lecture on the course. So it's a really nice mixed model in that the first 3 modules give the opportunity to work over an extended period online and arrange that learning around your work commitments. And then the second 3 modules give the opportunity to come to Oxford and experience all that has to offer over a much shorter, intense period of time. And then the final component of the course is the requirement to submit a research dissertation. And so the first 3 modules plus the second 3 modules, combined with the research dissertation, comprise the entire MSc. The course is delivered by the Department of Continuing Education here in Oxford, and it's delivered by academic and industry experts, students, the intention of those students studying part-time. So it's designed for people who are working, who are interested in the field, need to develop their knowledge and skills, don't have the opportunity to stop their work and take a full-time study. So the course it has flexibility, has the intention of providing that learning whilst working. So I'll just hand over to Christiane here. Christiane, if you could give yourself a brief introduction and then work through this slide for us.
Okay, hello, welcome to this session. My name is Christiane Nornberg. I'm the director of the PGCert. My background is in material science. I've worked in material science for, I can't even remember, more than 30 years now. Starting in surface science, studying the surfaces of materials with scanning tunneling microscope, electron microscopy, and we moved into smaller and smaller objects, investigating nanostructures, and this got me interested in nanotechnology and most importantly in nanoscience. So I will be guiding our students through the first 3 modules, which comprise the PGCert. So this PGCert is basically over 10 months introducing the area of nanoscience. As many of you will be aware, when we scale down materials from the macro scale down to the micro scale and to the nanoscale, the properties of these materials change dramatically. And in order to make use of these new properties, we need to understand them first. So that's why a huge part of the PGCert is dedicated to the properties of materials at the nanoscale. So we're looking at nanoscience, we're looking at the applications and also the wider context, meaning the ethical issues, societal issues, health and environmental impact, which are really, really important. And also we have a dedicated module to the characterization of materials at the nanoscale. The 3 modules are taught online with 1 residential weekend in Oxford. We use a bespoke learning environment, the Moodle, where all the course material is, and there are several links to reading suggestions, and there are discussion forums. So it's not just about reading. The modules are very interactive. So we really encourage interaction of our students with the tutors and amongst themselves through the discussion forums. And once a week, there is an online tutorial, and we use Microsoft Teams to do that. The assessment is through a portfolio of mainly written assignments. There are problem sheets, essays, reports, presentations, so a variety of assignments, really assessing the knowledge gained. But we'll come back to those a bit later. So back to Bob.
Okay, thank you, Christiane. Okay, so we've talked about the 3 online modules, and Christiane's given a nice breakdown there of what comprises the PGCert. And we would hope that you would progress smoothly through those 3 modules if you were on the MSc. You can take the PGCert as a standalone course if that's all you can commit to, and you feel that course provides you with all the learning you need. That can be a standalone course that you can complete within that 10-month time frame, and that could be the end of your learning. Or you can sign up for the MSc and then go into complete the second set of 3 modules and the dissertation. So these second set of 3 modules are typically run during the terms, 1 per term, and so we have one typically in October, one in March, and one at the start of July. They're 5-day modules, and they're taught face-to-face in Oxford. So you come to Oxford, and we have a very nice learning environment where the cohort of students, which is typically between 10 and 15 students, it can be really interactive, and there can be really nice interaction between the students. We have a wide range of interests and backgrounds in our students and also in our lecturers, which really makes for a really nice learning atmosphere. So nice interactive, lots of questions during the lectures and during the coffee breaks and the lunches. So really good opportunity to meet and discuss the educational content that's delivered. Now, these are very intense weeks. We have to cram a lot of content in. So typically it's 9 to 5, so from 9 a.m. through to 5 o'clock. Lots of content to cover, and lots of different experts coming in from around the university, and also from the very rich local environment of spin-out companies and biopharma and device companies that operate within the Oxford environment. So we get a commercial context, as well as an academic context, and as well as a clinical context, because we have lots of clinicians coming in and talking about how they apply some of these technologies in the clinics for the benefit of the patients. So a good broad range of experts from across the university and the local environment. And then after those 5-day modules are complete, you have for the MSc to complete an original research project. And this takes approximately 18 weeks and is a piece of work that produces some original research. So that might be being in a wet lab, doing some experiments, taking some measurements, processing the data. It might be a literature-based research project where you assess a particular field of literature. The important thing is that it has an element of novelty, and that it's probing a worthwhile question in the field of nanotechnology and healthcare. And we typically have a split of about 50% of our students doing lab-based research, doing those experiments, and 50% doing a literature-based study. It really depends on the particular interests of the students, their ability to make time to be in a laboratory environment versus doing a literature-based study, which, although takes similar amounts of time, is much easier to arrange around professional commitments. So we try and find a project and a question and a piece of research that best suits both the interests of the student and their ability to actually be present in a lab, or their ability to be able to produce a literature-based study. But again, we have a huge number of potential projects and areas of research that students can look into. And that's how we make up the MSc. 3 online modules, the 3 5-day modules, and the original piece of research. In terms of the actual content that's delivered during those modules, The first considers the wider context of nanotechnology. So this focuses on the impacts nanotechnology is having on society, on the environment, the ethical aspects, the regulatory aspects. And it's really to establish why we care about this field so much, what its potential is, what the limitations are, what are the things we need to think about in terms of how we develop it in a responsible and reasonable way. And then the second module looks at the fundamental science of the nanotechnology. So this is where we get down into the physics and the maths, behavior at the nanoscale. This is a challenging, obviously very interesting and very fundamentally important module. Without this understanding, we can't then relate the type of activities we see when nanotechnology interacts with biology. And we can't understand the impacts nanotechnology has if we don't understand the fundamental science. And then, of course, when we manipulate material at the nanoscale and when we create nanoscale technologies, we need ways of characterizing those nanotechnologies to ensure they are what we think they are or what we think they might be. And that's why module 3 is so important. So that looks at how we actually go about characterizing nanotechnologies. So the methods, the technologies, how those technologies work, how they are deployed in giving us a really definitive understanding of the constructs that we might be wanting to investigate. Important to note that at the conclusion of module 3, there is a 2-day component in Oxford at the end of the module, where again students are required to come to Oxford, and during those 2 days they have an experience of the nanotechnology characterization suite here in Oxford at the Lakebrook Science Park. So that's an opportunity to actually see the implementation of the characterization technologies and principles that are discussed during the module. It's actually an opportunity to see them implemented in a face-to-face environment. And then we have, moving on now to the face-to-face modules. So typically in October, we have module 4, and that's our introduction to nanotechnology. So this is just establishing how bio-nanotechnology is developed and how it can be applied. We then go on to talk about actually how those nanotechnologies can be applied in a healthcare context. So the module 5 is concerned with nanomedicine and how we take those nanotechnologies and start to apply them, ultimately with the hope of healthcare and patient benefit. And then the final module is module 6, which typically runs in July here in Oxford. And this is all about how we ensure our good ideas and our technologies actually survive the journey and actually make impact, clinical and commercial impact. So how we ensure that the great ideas and concepts that we have can actually be of huge and important value by the time we actually finish developing and testing them. So it takes in important facets like the clinical trials pathway, how we manage all the commercialization side, so the IP, business startups, funding, as well as all the regulatory requirements, so how we ensure that we navigate the regulatory requirements in the most efficient and smooth manner, so that we can actually get to the end goal of actually providing some patient benefit with our technologies. So it follows the full journey of how we go about translating technology. And then the research project and dissertation. So it's about 3 months, and we typically expect a thesis submission in the September of your final year. So the course is designed with flexibility And not every student will be able to take modules 1, 2, 3 in the first year, 4, 5, 6 in the second year, and complete the MSc dissertation in the summer of their second year. For some, that will be too challenging because of work commitments. And so we do have the flexibility to allow students to complete over 3 years. So they may miss a module in one particular year and then would have to come back and complete that in the following year. Or they may not have the opportunity to do their dissertation 1 year, so they may come back and do that at a later date. So there is some flexibility. Ideally, it is best to take modules in the order and with maximum efficiency and achieve completion of the course within 2 years. But we understand the pressures that our students can be under when they're also trying to complete and meet their professional commitments as well. So as I mentioned, it can take 2 to 3 years of part-time study. Obviously, for the completion of the MSc, we expect completion of the taught modules, as long as as well as the residential weekend. As Christian so nicely explained, modules 1 to 3 requires 15 to 20 hours of self-study per week, and attendance at the 1 hour online tutorial. And the 1 hour online tutorial is a really important part of these first 3 modules, because it's at that 1 hour online tutorial you get the opportunity to meet and interact with your cohort and build the relationships which you can then grow further when you meet face to face during the later modules. In terms of assignments, what we try to do is provide a wide base of ways of assessing people's progress and abilities. So it's not all essay based. We have problem sheets, scientific posters, presentations, as a way of really getting a good idea of the broad skills that our students have, and also helping them develop those skills. So we don't just have a bunch of graduates who are very good at writing essays but can't do anything else. So we try and assess in different ways to give a broad understanding and develop broader skills. Skills like the creation of scientific posters, for example, which might require processing of data and presentation of data, which is essential in developing skills in the scientific fields. And then ultimately, the MSc research dissertation would be, we'd expect that to be no more than 15,000 words. So it's a fairly comprehensive and large piece of work, but obviously we provide a lot of support in ensuring that students can meet the demands required to produce a really nice and worthy, high quality dissertation. Okay, and in terms of who delivers the course, obviously myself and Christian do a lot of the organising and also the delivery. But we have module tutors from academia and industry who are obviously specialists in their subject areas. And I think it's really important, especially when we move into the later phases, such as the commercialisation, that we bring in those experts from industry as well, because they're the people who've seen it and done it. They're not talking from a theoretical perspective. They come in and talk about the process of commercialization and how you go through that process to ensure the greatest chance of success. So we draw on all those different expertises. And similarly with something like regulation, we get experts from the regulatory bodies who've worked as regulators to come in and discuss those important aspects, because they understand the field the best. In terms of supervisors and supervisor support, myself and Christian act as supervisors, and then during the second or third year, when you move into your phase of your dissertation project, that's when we allocate a dissertation supervisor, and they will be giving you the support you need to complete your dissertation. And that may be in a particular laboratory, or it may be online if you're doing a literature-based study and can't travel to Oxford, for example. So that's kind of what we provide, and that's how the course is designed and its intentions. Who's it actually for? Well, it's a broad range of people, really. The field is very broad. It encompasses a huge number of technologies, different technologies, with a huge number of different applications, and so it attracts a huge number of people from different backgrounds, which is why it makes it such an interesting and exciting learning environment. So we have scientists and engineers working in the commercial, research and healthcare sectors who may be using or developing a nanotechnology. So a good example would be somebody working in a diagnostics company developing nanotechnology enabled diagnostic devices. We have medical practitioners seeking to employ nanotechnologies in their field. So what we find, especially in somewhere like Oxford, that our clinicians are very research focused. They're always looking for ways to enhance their patient care and their ability to treat the ailments of their patients more effectively. So they're very interested in how they can use new technology to do that. So we have a lot of medical practitioners coming on and seeking to improve their abilities to treat patients better. And then we have people who are more interested in almost the organization of the field. So people who are patent agents who are looking to make sure that their knowledge is up to date and cutting edge, and that they know about all the recent technological developments. We have legislators. So we have people from regulatory bodies, for example, who want to know whether their regulation is keeping pace with the science. And we have investors, so people who are investing in the field and want to know what the current and future direction of the field looks like, so that they can make the most informed and effective investment in the field. So we have a huge number of those people coming on the course as well. And then we have newly graduated skills looking to kind of newly graduated students looking to upskill before they work in a PhD. And that might be because they're not quite sure which field they want to commit to for their PhD, or it might be because they need to make themselves more competitive for a PhD placement by having extra skills and extra learning and extra qualifications before they commit and apply for PhDs. So we have a fair proportion of newly graduated students as well. And those students are often in a situation where they need to raise money for their time on their PhDs, and they can't afford to study full time, so they have a job, and then they study on a part-time basis for our MSc. Now, obviously, our course, just to emphasize again, is key aspects are that it is designed for people who have employment, but also have some spare time and energy to commit to studying. They're working professionals in the field. And the other thing to emphasize is the international nature of the course. So we have people from all around the globe: the US, Australia, China, Singapore, Europe, all over Europe. So it's a really nice international flavor, lots of different perspectives, lots of different people from all around the world, all working on interesting, different but related topics. And of course, the course is designed to account for the fact that we have this global reach. And that's in part why the first 3 modules are delivered online. It enables our students to study without having to come to Oxford all of the course. In terms of what kind of background our students have, I touched on that a little bit in a previous slide, but this is just to dig down into the detail. What we can see is actually, if we aggregate dentistry and medical doctors together, we kind of have a good proportion of those come on the course. We have recent graduates, as I explained, trying to upskill for a PhD. We have some consultants, and then a good proportion that work in the medical device and diagnostics industries, computer scientists, and this is a sliver that is probably going to expand as the role of machine learning and AI expands. I would expect that to expand further. We have pharmacists, and then people who work in biotech and related industries. So this might be big pharma, it might be SMEs working in drug development or drug delivery. So quite a large portion of our intake are working in the biotech sector. And then we have the regulators, the patent experts, and the investors. And then we have some people who describe themselves as entrepreneurs. So they're looking for new and exciting technologies that they might develop and form spin-out companies with. And then we have some lecturers and academics that attend as well. So a good range makes for an interesting mix of backgrounds and interests. In terms of where they go afterwards, well, obviously the dentists and the doctors stay in their field with their now enhanced learning and understanding, helping them with their patient care. And then we have a sliver that go on to do PhDs. So these are the new graduates that typically go on to do a PhD, with the consultants stay in their typical roles. And then we have students that go on to do MBAs. Those are the ones that are really taken with the module 6 of the course and the commercialization aspects. And then obviously the medical device and diagnostics, computer science, all these people essentially stay in their original field, but just having developed their careers, developed their understanding, have a new understanding and can make the most of that to develop their careers further. In terms of our entry requirements, we require a first class or strong upper second class undergraduate degree with honours in either science or engineering discipline, or a medical degree. So again, that's quite a broad intake. It's a broad subject, which draws on a lot of different fields. So chemistry, biochemistry, engineering, physics, maths. So that means that we have a broad set of interests and a broad set of people who are interested in taking the course. We obviously require a demonstrated aptitude for maths, and this is particularly relevant when we talk about that understanding the science at the nanoscale and physics. So for physics and maths, modules at a university level or at least an A-level equivalent is something that we look for. And obviously, we want a demonstrated interest in nanotechnology. We need to be sure that the students, as we take on the course, actually are inspired to be part of the course and give their everything to it, and will really get the most out of it. And so, yeah, obviously, evidence of motivation and ability to complete the course will be important. And as the course is delivered in English, then we require that the university's higher level English proficiency is achieved. So it's delivered in English, and of course the assessments are in English. The problem sheets and the essays and the posters are all delivered in English. So a good level of English understanding is essential, really, because you won't be able to complete the course without it. And obviously the course is part of a wider environment, and as a student on the course, you are a member of the University of Oxford, and some of the some of the parts of the university that are associated with the course are the Institute of Biomedical Engineering, which is where I'm based, which is also part of the Department of Engineering Science. Department of Continuing Education is, of course, the department which oversees the course, and teaching delivery during your time in Oxford is delivered from within the Department of Continuing Education Facilities. There's the Breakbook Science Park, which is where Christian is based, and that is the site where the characterization weekend is run. And obviously there are other departments in the MPLS, which is the Mathematical, Physical and Life Sciences Division, and the Medical Sciences Division, which you may interact with during your time on the course, due to whether you interact with a particular lecture from a different division or department, or whether ultimately you end up with a dissertation supervisor that might be from a different division or department. You will be a full member of the university, so you'll have access to all those university facilities and libraries. And you are, as an MSc student, you're a matriculated member of an Oxford college. So you'll be part of the college system and have a kind of, the college is really your home from home when you're in Oxford, somewhere to have dinner, to meet friends, and potentially also, if you need accommodation, it may be available through your college. Okay, so there's some sites there for more information where you can find out more. You can always email us to ask questions, and we'll try and do our best to answer them. And you can find us on social media as well. Okay, so I think that's everything from me. I'll throw it open to questions. Unless there's anything else I missed, Christian, that you want to emphasize or fill in?
I think from our side we've covered everything. It would be nice to have some questions from you to see what you are interested in, what your questions are, what your concerns might be. So please use the time and ask.
We have a talk. We have a question from Barbara Banazak. Thank you for the talk. It was very informative. I just wanted to double check that a research proposal is required to be submitted with the application. As on the course website, I came across this sentence. Although not required at this stage, we're encouraged to outline some initial ideas for your research project. Yes. So thank you for the question, Barbara. Just to be clear, what we really want to probe is your interest in the field, and a good way of doing that is for you to put in some ideas for a research project, because it gives us an idea of your thinking. It gives us an idea of which aspects of nanotechnology in healthcare and medicine you've actually thought about, and which have captured your imagination. So it doesn't necessarily need to be the research proposal that you will end up doing. It just needs to be some evidence that you've assessed the field and you thought, oh, that's quite interesting. I wonder what would happen if we did this. So you've gained an understanding of some nanotechnology, you've thought about how it might be applied, and you've thought about how that might fit into a research project. So it's really a way for us to get a good idea of how much understanding and interest you have in the field. So it's not really about delivering a detailed methodological proposal with lots of detail and references, and it's really about getting a feel for your interests and your ability to take interesting observations and think how it might be interestingly applied. Does that make sense? Okay. Perhaps if Perhaps, Barbara, if that didn't make sense, you can drop us an email separately, and I can develop my answer a bit more with a bit more clarity. Okay, and then Anna has asked a question: how much support do you get in writing your dissertation? For example, can you get support in finding research placement to collect data? So one important thing to emphasize here again is the flexibility. So a lot of our students, especially if they are based overseas, in the US, for example, or Australia, will not really have the opportunity to come to Oxford and work in the labs in Oxford. It's not something they can't take 3 months out of their employment to go and do that. Their company needs them too much. And then other students, they might work in the UK, or that they might have very flexible and supportive work arrangements, means that they can come to Oxford and spend 3 months in a wet lab doing a wet lab research. And some people may be in a situation where their research they're doing is very important to the company they work for, and actually the company would quite like them to do the research in their own labs, whereas some people don't have access to labs but want to do a wet lab, so they need to come to Oxford. So we have a real wide variety and a mix, and we need to have flexibility to provide the type of project and support that is most fitting for a particular student. And so we have that flexibility, but what is always the same is that every student will get a supervisor in Oxford, an Oxford academic who will supervise them, so that if they are stuck in Australia and can't come to Oxford, and they're doing a literature-based dissertation, they will meet online with their Oxford supervisor, and they will talk about all the things that you need to do to ensure that your literature-based study is performed to a high standard and written up to a high standard, and is a worthy and high quality piece of work. So your Oxford supervisor in that situation will be available on a platform such as Teams. You'll meet regularly and you'll work together on the dissertation. In a situation where you're doing lab-based research in your own institution, again, you will have a Oxford supervisor, and they will provide input in terms of how experiments should be designed, formed, analysed, presented. And in a situation where the student needs to come to Oxford, they might have a supervisor who has a coincident interest, and they can develop a research project together, and the student will come and perform some studies in the lab. And again, the supervisor in that case is providing supervision over the design, performance, analysis and presentation of the results that come out of the experiments that are performed. So it's a broad church of people that we have. They come from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of requirements, and we have the flexibility to accommodate almost every type of project delivered in whatever fashion. Flexibility is the key. Would it be appropriate to talk about more than one research idea in the application? So a follow-up question from Barbara is whether it would be appropriate to talk about more than one research idea in the application. I think we can get a pretty good idea of whether you have a true and lasting interest in the field and a good understanding of the field from a single application. Let's not make things too complicated. I think it's better to keep it pure and simple. So just focus on one application, I would say. And then we have a question from Priyanka. Thank you for the information. I would like to know, how good is the course for a person at the associate professor level? Will it add some value? That's a very good question, Priyanka. I think it probably depends on your background and on your intentions. So if you have, for example, it depends what subject background you have. If you've spent a lot of time perhaps in the lab and teaching about nanoformulation and drug design and drug delivery, and perhaps you're interested in broadening your understanding of diagnostics or tissue engineering, then it may be of interest to you. Or if you're, as I say, a very basic scientist, considered and concerned with the fundamentals, but maybe have never translated your technology, then there are certainly module content that would help you do that. So it depends what you want to get out of the course, really. I think we would probably need to discuss with you in more detail what your particular experience is, what your background is, and what areas of career development you would be interested in. So I think regardless of your level, previous professional level, there are probably things that you still feel you would like to develop, and the course may be able to help with that. You say thank you both, very informative. Could you please elaborate a bit more on the modules 4, 5, and 6? As the rest of the term concerned after the residential week in Oxford. Okay, so yeah, so it's very important, obviously, that the students are present during the week because they have to be in the lecture theatre, and they have to interact and have to be there to actually understand the content. For the rest of the term, the students are obviously free to return to their jobs and their homes, and do all those important things that they do to make their living. But they will obviously be then working very hard in their spare time on the assignments that are set from those weeks in Oxford. So this is a way of ensuring that, again, that a part-time student who has professional commitments, they hopefully will be able to come to Oxford for the week, and they can work that out with their employer. They may use holidays, they may use career development weeks, but then they can still return home, continue with their job, and it's at that point that they work on their assignments, and that's where their learning commitment comes to. In their extra time, their free time, they work on their assignments, and those assignments can be quite labor intensive and require quite a lot of commitment, a lot of background reading, a lot of for the essays, a lot of compilation of literature and understanding of literature, and then obviously the writing of the essays for the posters. There's a requirement to really understand the literature and then understand how that literature is conveyed in an impactful way. So although the study is a very intense week in Oxford, the learning continues after that week with all the reading and the writing that you have to do for the assignments. Some students do stay around for a couple of extra weeks in Oxford because it gives them direct access to the libraries and the information sources they might need, but those information sources and libraries are available online, so that can be done that way as well if you want to return home. Good. Okay. Well, the links to the team, if you do have any more questions, the email links are there, and the links to the course pages are also there, so you can do some searching there. So do contact us if you have any more questions. And yes, if you feel that the course is for you, then please feel free to apply. And I must say that we have a really fantastic admin team, so they will support you throughout, and they'll support you at this stage during the inquiries, and they'll support you very effectively throughout the course as well. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks very much for attending, and please do
Yep.
get in touch if you have any questions. And as we said earlier, the recording will be available, the slides will be available. And if anything is not clear, if you have any questions, then please do get in touch, and we are very happy to answer those questions.
Very good.